In this first issue of the Journal of the Moorish Paradigm video magazine, we hope to establish three main points. These 3 points will serve as a foundation upon which we will build the next and following issues upon. The 3 points are: Point 1. It is a fabrication of the European that all our people were brought over here to this hemisphere by him as slaves. We were already here long before the European and built a mound and pyramid civilization that spanned from Canada to Peru and which was connected to the other half of our dominions across the Atlantic Ocean. Point 2. That the extent of our ancient empire, known as the dominions of Amexem, extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis to North, South, and Central America. These dominions of Amexem are in actuality the dominions of the legendary lost continent of Atlantis. We are the ancient Atlanteans, and when we reawaken, Atlantis will truly rise again. Point number 3 is, the land that comprised our ancient dominions of Amexem was held by the United States and other nations by a mandate until the Prophet Noble Drew Ali received the mandate in 1928 and put it into an express trust for the benefit of the Moors and our posterity forever. When you claim your Moorish nationality, you also claim your beneficiary interest in the trust. Islam. This is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Take a very good look at him, because he is one of the greatest men who has ever lived. Yet perhaps 9 out of every 10 of our people do not even know who he is. Noble Drew Ali is the man who in 1928 reclaimed back everything that was taken from us by the Europeans. After reclaiming what was rightfully ours, put it into a financial institution known as an express trust. But before we go any deeper into this express trust set up by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we need to look deeper into the foundations of this trust so that it will make more sense. The Europeans will have us to believe that all of us were brought over here in this hemisphere by the Europeans in slave ships. The Moorish elders taught us that we were always over here. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali referred to our dominion as Amexem and said that it extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantic Island, which is the Caribbean. This is very similar to the description of the dominions of Atlantis described by Plato, saying, "Now in the island of Atlantis there was a great and wonderful empire which had ruled over the whole island and several others," parentheses the Caribbean, as well as parts of the continent, which was North, South, and Central America. And besides these, they subjected parts of Libya or Africa within the columns of Hercules as far as Egypt, and of Europe as far as Tyrrhenia. Thus it is plainly evident that the domains of Amexem was in fact the domains of Atlantis. We and our brothers and sisters in West Africa are actually the direct descendants of the ancient Atlantean. The domains of Atlantis or Amexem was a land base from which the ancient Moorish navigators traded with and civilized the whole world. The ancient Moors are known as the ancient descendants of Ham, Cush, Canaan, and Moabites. The destruction of Atlantis was actually the result of a series of worldwide cataclysms that took place about 1500 BC, about 3,500 years ago. Plato said Atlantis some 9,000 years before Salome, 600 BC, but someone added an extra zero. Thus, it was actually 900 years before Salome, which would bring it to 1500 BC as the date of the destruction of Atlantis. This destruction was recorded by peoples all over the world. Some recorded it as a flood, as in Noah in the Bible. Some as earthquakes, others as volcanic eruptions that are on Santorini. These are all local descriptions of a series of global events. As a result of the various cataclysms, colonists went out in all directions in search of new homes. There are two major theories of geological change. The gradualist theory says that the Earth changes very slowly over periods of millions of years, such as continental drift, or the drifting apart of continents such as Africa and Americas, which is almost universally recognized as going to be enjoined. The scientists have found that Florida is actually a piece of Africa that remains stuck to North America after the separation. In the New York Times Science section, dated June 30, 1985, page 16, it says, North America split apart from Africa around 200 million years ago to form the Atlantic Ocean. A little bit of Africa stuck to North America, i.e. the Florida Peninsula and an adjacent region of southern Georgia. The gradualist says that the separation took place hundreds of millions of years ago, gradually, taking years to separate inches. Actually, the separation took place quickly and cataclysmically, and more importantly, as recently as 1500 BC. This great cataclysm is proven by Immanuel Velikovsky in his book Earth in Upheaval. This is the cataclysmic theory of geology. This global cataclysm is what scientists refer to as the Ice Age, which did not take place 15,000 years ago and in the manner in which they say, and is referred to in the Bible as both the flood and the plagues at the time of Moses. This is a very interesting picture taken from Godfrey Ash's book Atlantis, showing the connections between civilizations on either side of the Atlantic Ocean and how Atlantis in Africa may have looked when it was connected to America. In the story of Atlantis, which was given by the Kemetic Egyptian priest to Solon the Greek and later relayed by Plato, Plato says, this power came forth out of the Atlantic Ocean, for in those days the Atlantic was navigable, and there was an island situated in front of the straits, which you call the Columns of Hercules, which is actually the Straits of Gibraltar. The island was larger than Libya and Asia put together, and was the way to other islands, which was the Caribbean. And from the islands you might pass to the whole of the opposite continent, which surrounded the true oceans, which was North, South, and Central America. Notice the Egyptian priest said that the Atlantic was navigable then, implying that it was not navigable at the time in which he was talking, which was 600 BC. The reason it was not navigable at the time he was talking to Solon, 600 BC, was due to its muddiness. This muddiness was the result of the destruction of Atlantis, the mixing of a great deal of land with water. If the destruction took place 9,000 years ago, as Plato said, it would not still be muddy, for the soil would have settled over a 9,000-year period. But if it was 900 years, it would make much more sense. As a result of the worldwide cataclysms, the survival of these cataclysms was spread out and dispersed. This is recorded in the Bible as the destruction of Babel and the confusion of the languages, which actually resulted from these cataclysms. The following massive stone heads weighing tons are of Atlantean colonists referred to as the Olmecs. The Olmec civilization is said to be the oldest pyramid civilization in North, South, and Central America. The Moorish features cannot be mistaken or confused with the so-called stereotypical quote-unquote Indian we have been taught were the first and only people here when Columbus so-called discovered America. Here is an Olmec Atlantean king, 1500 to 1000 BC. These are the Atlanteans, the descendants of the ancient maritime